Okay. All right. Well, we'll start a little bit late on some of the recordings. Oh well. So attendance and participation, there are a variety of attendance and participation events throughout the course. We're going to have a webinar every week there. So you do not have to attend those live. I will record those. I will post a confirmation code in the webinar randomly, and then you will simply find that confirmation code by watching the webinar, the recording, and then post that to the assignment area in the course. That's just my way of verifying that you viewed the webinar. Make sense? So that's how we do attendance participation, and then that's a certain portion of your grade, which we'll talk about in a few minutes.
And I have well, there's a clarification. I think you made mention that if we participate, if we showed up tonight, then we wouldn't have to submit.
Yeah, so I was gonna do that, but with 42 of y'all, it's hard to go through, and also people with same names and not putting their full name and all, it gets problematic. So I'm gonna go ahead and make y'all do that. So, but okay. it'll be super easy. So it'll take 30 seconds to do so. But it's just with the number of, normally I don't require you to do it if you attend, but it's just a bit of a hassle with this. So with the numbers. So, and also this is the first time we use Zoom, and it's a little, the first time we've had it for the university. So it's a little bit, it was easier to do it with Connect because it was just literally like a list and it was just easier to do. So, okay. And then academic honesty and respect. Don't be a jerk. So in PackBack, you're going to be collaborating or commenting on people's posts and things like that. Just be respectful. You can be critical and, you know, constructive, but be respectful about that. And then don't cheat. There's typically not plagiarism issues in here because you're making your own kind of content up. There's not a lot you could plagiarize, but make sure that you're doing your own work. You're allowed to collaborate and work with each other on aspects of things like getting help from each other. But as far as doing the work, make sure you're doing your own work. And if you ever have a question about something regarding academic honesty, just if you can use something along those lines, just let me know and I'll be happy to answer it. Okay, any questions so far?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
How timely, and I know it's 40 something and this is more technical. So in terms of the assignment feedback, because I'm in another class, and for example, if the weeks are building up on previous assignments, how timely are you with providing the grade so we can build on the feedback for the next assignment?
That's a great question. It's gonna be, it depends. My typical approach is to grade things as they come in and provide feedback as they come in as much as I can. And y'all shouldn't, because I'm super busy, y'all shouldn't have to kind of suffer because of that. So I try to be y'all are sort of my priority right now. So I try to get things back relatively quickly. I would say within a few days. Sometimes I just have to wait until the due date just because of the way things happen. I'm not going to grade things typically on Saturdays or, but I would say you'll get it within a few days after the due date. And if you submit it early, I'll try and grade them as they come in as much as I can. If I get like 30 on one day, that's a problem. That's tough to grade because they take you'll see they take a while and you'll see. I don't skimp on the feedback, or I try not to skimp on the feedback. So does that help?
It does, but it wouldn't take 3 weeks.
Oh, no. The most it would ever be, even in any courses, is a week for me. So yeah, so even at the very worst, it's a week, but I'm looking at like 3 days is kind of my 3 days after the due date. So but if you submit it early, it may be before the due date. As much as I would love to allow resubmissions, this format just doesn't allow for it. So I will scan things, and if you request outside of the submission area for some quick feedback, I will scan and give some quick comments. but if you submit it, I'm accepting that as your submission. Does that make sense?
It
So if
does.
you submit it as to the assignment area, then that's the one I'm grading. But if you send it to me via course message and say, hey, I'm just trying to do this, or what do you think of this, or can you look this over real quick? I'll scan it and hit on the things that jump out at me real quickly, and let you know what you should fix and that kind of thing. So, all right.
Thank you.
Sure. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing this and begin sharing the course environment. So bear with me one moment. And can everybody see the course now?
Yes.
All right. So I like to just kind of be very straightforward with everything. This is the home. When you log in, you will see this. This is just weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, all laid out for you, so you can jump ahead. You can move through this course as fast as you want, submit things ahead of time. The only things that are timed would be the pack-back activities, which are essentially advanced discussion forums, and then the tests. So those are the only things that are really kind of within a particular time frame. And then the individual webinars and stuff like that. But if you're moving ahead, let me and want to move ahead, and maybe you don't need a webinar, let me know and we can chat about options. You know, if you know all the content and you're comfortable with the assignment description and that sort of thing, then just let me know. We'll figure something out. So week 0 is just your logistics and support. I'm going to fly through this. So if you have questions, kind of yell or something, because there's 2 pages. So some of you, if you raise your hand, I can't see you. So yell or something, and I will actually, if you go to participants, or okay, it doesn't work that way. All right, just yell, and I'll pause and let you ask your question. So we have a course Digo, which really I'm probably going to remove because no one uses it. What it was a user. I provide a username and password for the course, and people could go there and post resources that they found useful for other people to use. No one ever really uses it, so it's there if you want to add resources and see what resources are present, but no one really uses it that much. Ask the instructor. So if you have any questions that are kind of for the good of the group, things that you feel that might benefit other students in the course, you can post those there. As you're moving through the course, if you want to solicit peer feedback and, kind of, hey, you look at mine, provide me comments, I'll look at yours. You can do that here. You can also do it outside of that. I just set this up for y'all as a discussion forum for that. There's some support materials here. If you're new to Canvas and web courses and learning online, you can access those here. Some additional course protocols. I'm not going to really, they're how to, what not to do in emails and that sort of thing. And then LinkedIn Learning. How many of y'all are familiar with LinkedIn Learning?
I am.
Okay, looks like
I am.
like a number of y'all.
I am.
Okay, so it looks like a good chunk of y'all are. It used to be lynda.com, if y'all are familiar with that, but it moved over to that. So there's hundreds, thousands actually, of videos on all kinds of web tools and the resources we'll use in this course. So as we're moving through the course each week, I'm going to probably make 2 to 3 announcements in the course, and I'll target specific LinkedIn Learning videos that are going to be useful and that sort of thing to kind of guide you along with the content in the course. Week 1 is your course introduction. So what I've done for each course is I have an activity checklist. So and you can download this or whatever. I'm actually trying to get it digitized for the course. But this just lets you make sure you're doing everything in the course. You can see there's quite a few things for week 1. Attend the orientation webinar, read the instructor introduction, read, review. So these are the non-graded activities or non-submitted activities. And then these are the items to be graded or to be submitted, sorry. And then here's some suggested activities. So you can there are these checklists for each week in the course. You can kind of make sure you're up to date with everything. for the enrollment verification syllabus acknowledgement quiz, y'all have probably heard in other courses about the academic engagement activity. It's a requirement, so just go through and click yes, and it takes you about 5 seconds for that. You get a free point for your final grade, so that's a bonus. But if you have financial aid or things like that and don't do it, it'll delay it, and then it becomes a big headache for me. Your Pack Back Week 1 activity is here. So the Pack Back activities are due on Thursday, the original post, and then your peer replies are due on Sunday. We'll walk through, we'll come back and look at this in a minute because I want to talk about it a little bit more. And then you have, I've kind of highlighted, set up each section, each module each week into various headers. So welcome, and then here we get into web authoring, text and hypertext, and then web design down here, and then week 1 feedback. So so here's our orientation Zoom. Here's where you submit the confirmation code. So you'll submit this. And then, and an instructor introduction. I'll also post the orientation archive here. So the recording that I started 13 minutes late, I'll post that here for anyone who misses it. Then we get into the content. So we start talking about text and hypertext, web authoring readings, HTML web authoring presentation. So here's a mixture of readings, narrated lectures, that sort of thing. Then we have a username password assignment. So all of you are going to be given domain subdomains on my server, hartshorn.com. And so here you're going to submit your username and password. I'm going to set up your subdomain based on that. It's going to be whatever, it's going to be rhartshorn.com/summer2020/ whatever your username is. So you can go in and read this. And then once you submit it, you'll have access to it. So if you forget your username or you forget your password, you can come in here and you can always access that. And I'll have access to it and I can change it or update it. Don't use a password that you use for other things, but it does have to be reasonably secure, or I'll have to modify it to make it secure enough for the server. And then a multimedia project web shell. So I'm going to pause for a moment on course structure and talk about the kind of the intent of the course as a whole. Okay. So what you're going to start here is, next week, we're going to have a webinar, and you're going to start creating a 3-page web shell. So you're going to create a website. It's 3 pages. All the pages are linked. So you're going to have a navigation menu. You're going to have all of these little things, but essentially it's a shell. And the idea is that it's a setup where as you move through the course, you're going to be developing other forms of media and other pieces of media and pulling in content and creating stuff. You're then packaging that all, adding that to your web shell, maybe updating the website design and things like that based on feedback. But this is just sort of your starting point, and then you're adding to it as you move through the course. Does that make sense? So what you are doing in this course is a multimedia project. So you have, everybody here has a job. Everybody here has a hobby. Some people may have businesses. Some people may have things that they just want to create a site about that they can do an informational or instructional website about. So that's going to be your multimedia project. The idea of this course is that you create some topic. It is up to you. I'm happy to bounce ideas off of you if you're unsure what you want to do. But you're going to create a website, a 3 to 4 page website. I think it's maybe 4 pages for the final product. But you're going to create at least 4 forms of media on some topic of your choice. It can be instructional or informational. Again, it could be job related. It could be, if you're in a classroom, you could create a topic area that you're getting ready to teach in a few weeks or in a few months or something like that. If it's a hobby of yours, you can do, I've had golf websites, I've had yoga websites, I've had photography websites. So it's really up to you what you want to do it on. So this web shell is just the start. And then as we're moving through the course, you're going to be creating a narrated PowerPoint with some image edits and using graphics, different types of graphics, text, hypertext, audio, all in that product. You're not going to be creating a video, even though that PowerPoint kind of serves somewhat as a video. You're going to be creating an audio. You're going to be creating images and editing images, and then you're going to be packaging them all together. The idea is that each of those individual pieces of media are on the same topic, whatever you want your final multimedia project on. And then at the end of the course, instead of having to go and recreate a bunch of new media on some topic, you're just packaging it together in some meaningful, cohesive manner that addresses the concepts that we talked about in the course: design and usability, when you would use complementary forms of media, etc. At the end. Does that make sense? And also pulling in existing materials. So there's a really good site. Some of y'all may have heard of it, called YouTube. They have tons of videos on everything. So you don't have to create everything that's in your multimedia project. You can pull in other content, but you're going to want to pull in content that works well with the content that you have. Does that make sense?
Excuse me.
Yep.
There's a question in the chat, and I had a question too. And
Here we go. Okay. Yep.
Andrew is asking, oh, do you see it?
Yep. Can we code from hand using brackets, or are we required to use something like Dreamweaver? Andrew, you can code whatever you want. So that's a great question. The thing that you cannot use are cloud-based tools like Wix or Weebly. What are the others? There's some others. Google Sites.
Atom.
What's that?
Atom.
Atom, yeah. You can't use cloud-based sites like that. Now, so you're going to upload to my server space, to your subdomain on my server. You can use Dreamweaver, which costs. I'll provide some open source options as well. Amaya is a free one. Composer is a free one as well. So we'll talk about different options for that next week. There are some in this week.
Oh, sorry.
I see some more chats.
Able to access this after? Like, can we use the webpage after this project is over?
Oh yeah, definitely. So I've been here 9 years. I have not deleted anyone's websites, domains, except for at their request. So I actually had one last week. He had a resume up that he wanted taken down. So he just sent me an email and asked me to take it down. I took it down. So everyone who's been here who's been in my course and hadn't requested, they still have access to updating their content on there. Y'all are limited to 250 megabytes, but if you need more space, then that's fine. Just email me and let me know. Okay?
Thank you.
Sure. And looks like Samantha, I've never used Atom. So is it a cloud-based tool, or let me look it up?
I don't know.
Let me look it up and I can tell you if it's.
So if anybody needs help learning HTML and CSS, Udacity offers a free month trial on Intro to Programming, and the first couple of lectures are about HTML and CSS, and it's really easy to use.
And the LinkedIn Learning is super easy too. So,
W3 Schools is also an excellent resource on HTML, CSS, and a few other kind of fun languages. It's just a website with just a lot of resources or something.
I'm not sure I would call them fun languages, but yeah, there's tons of great resources out there. We'll talk about a lot of these later on. W3C is actually the one, they did the Maya project for one of those. But so the purpose of me kind of getting started on this now is I want you to be thinking about what that final multimedia topic is going to be. And as you're moving through and creating audio, be thinking, okay, how would I frame audio into this with this topic and use it with this particular goal that I have in mind? Does that make sense? So, or images and that sort of thing. Real quickly, somebody said they don't know what Dreamweaver is or how to get it. So Dreamweaver is you can do code, but it's really it's a graphical interface. It's from Adobe Creative Cloud. It's a component of that. You can purchase it. I think it's $20 a month for students. There's a 7-day trial. If you want to wait until our webinar next week, we're going to use it in the webinar. But the concept of HTML is you can create things in Dreamweaver. That's an HTML editor. You can edit, once you create those things, you can then edit them in any other web editor. So you could edit them in a Maya, which is free, or Composer, which is free. All very, very easy to use, or all very similar in the way they do the basics. They have some nuances and they do things, they organize things a little bit differently, particularly Dreamweaver. But we'll get into all that stuff next week. The gist of it is, if you don't mind paying $20 a month, Dreamweaver will be a skill. It's sort of the industry standard, Creative Cloud. There's other tools like Articulate and Captivate that get into more e-learning things as you move further along. But the Creative Cloud has Photoshop and all kinds of other editing tools, video editing tools, audio editing tools, etc. But with each of these products, with each of these forms of media, audio, video, etc., I'm gonna provide you with, bless you, Ashley. I'm gonna provide you with free or open source options. So you can use either one of those, and the functionality and the approach on many of them is going to be very similar. Okay. But the kind of the idea here is just be thinking about what you want to do your project on. And again, if you have questions, I'm happy to help you out with those. So here's the web shell. Uploading the server to CyberDuck, we'll talk more about next week. We'll actually do that. Then your multimedia project. So this right here will give you you can take some time this week, check it out. Here's some sample multimedia projects, and here's some web authoring resources. So when you're doing your figuring out, do I want to use Dreamweaver? Do I want to use Composer? Do I want to use a Maya? You can kind of check them out, spend some time, maybe look at LinkedIn Learning, check out the resources there, spend a little bit of front-end time kind of deciding what you want to do. Then the second big web assignment is your ePortfolio. And the reason I introduced this in week 1 is kind of the same purpose. You can develop a shell for it and then add to it as you move through the course. So you're going to add a projects page and a resume and all these things. So we'll talk more about this next week, but this is something that you can also get set up. Maybe next week we'll start working on getting the shell done and the ePortfolio set up and the ePortfolio shell. And then later on, we'll have webinars where we talk about how do we update these? How do we add media? How do we add various content to those? And then here's some sample ePortfolios. So if you want to see what kind of products you might walk out of this course with, you can check that out here. Design presentation, print versus web design issues, free web templates. So I'm a big fan of web templates because I am terrible at design. I can tell you when something looks good, but creating it from scratch is kind of tough for me. So I like to use other people's design ideas. And so I wholeheartedly endorse that. And we'll talk about how to use those in the webinars later on. I have a couple questions here. Let me pause from the presentation. And now, so Larissa, if y'all are freaking out because the terminology or things that you've never heard before, that's fine. Very, very normal. It'll all make sense in the near future, I promise. For a novice, it really doesn't matter, Aaron. Any of the options that are provided in the web authoring resources, any of those would be fine. Dreamweaver is one that if you're a classroom teacher, you're probably not going to need Dreamweaver. If you're in instructional design field outside in other sectors, Dreamweaver or Creative Cloud is probably going to be more used. And even if it's not specifically used, the interface of Adobe products are used a lot. So Captivate and that sort of thing. So having that kind of familiarity with it is really useful. I talked to somebody who's a big instructional designer and they use Google Sites for their sites. And I was like, I could do that and teach y'all that, but then you're only going to be able to do it in that kind of area. And so this right here, you're going to have the skills that are going to be very broad ranging, and you're going to be able to go into different sectors and kind of be a chameleon with regards to web authoring. Whereas I could teach you Weebly, and that would take me it would take me a lot less work because it's super easy, and Wix and all those things. But you're not going to have those skills and know how servers interact with web pages and how these things all kind of work together. So that's one of the goals. There is a method to the madness, I promise you. But we'll talk more later about that. So any of those are going to be fine. Sublime text. If you want an HTML code from scratch, that's completely fine too. I'm totally fine with that. Sublime, it's free. Okay. So is Sublime, Kindle, is Sublime, is it just text coding? You're on mute.
It is just a text editor, but it has kind of a cool way that for novices to keep track of the code.
Okay.
And to view the page, all you have to do is just drop the actual file into a browser and you can see the progress.
Okay, perfect. So, and then some people comment on the LinkedIn Learning. So there's some HTML essential training. The extent of code that I'm going to address in the course is enough to troubleshoot your errors. So when you want to move something around and it's just a little bit off or something like that, that's the kind of code I'm going to address. Like, how do I make this link open up in a new window and it's not working for me, or little things like that. And then how to go in and just, like I said, fix things that aren't the way you want them exactly. So we'll talk about that more. We're not going to get into a lot of code. You're not going to be a coding genius at the end of this 6 weeks, I promise you. Okay, moving on. And then each week there are these feedback surveys, and this is it's a 10-point activity, but they just let me know how things are going. Are things clear? We'll just look at it real quick. And then, so how clear are the directions? What suggestions do you have? And you don't have to put stuff in, but at the end of this, you'll each get a confirmation code, and then you'll just submit that confirmation code right below the assignment, okay? And then week 2, we kind of follow the same thing. There's your checklist, your pack back, getting started with web authoring. So the way I do webinars is we're all adults, we're all working. I don't know about y'all, but my schedule changes from week to week a lot. So I will send out a survey to y'all in an announcement, and I'll say, here's 4 or 5 times that work, rank order them. And y'all will drag and drop and rank order them. And I'll say, have it done by Wednesday or whatever, and I'll post the time on Wednesday night. And it's sort of mob rules. So whatever the preferred day and time is when we will have it. If you can't make it, fine, I will record it. If you can't make it, but you need that kind of one-on-one, you email me and we can set up and walk through and figure things out that way. So there is no more synchronous requirement for the course beyond tonight. So I will be recording and then posting, and we'll talk about that later. So there's a confirmation code. Then you have web design part 2. So coding tutorial, CSS basics, more web design readings, audio and graphics. So I start getting into a different form of media, visual principles and graphic editing tools, and then week 2 feedback. Kind of same thing for week 3. Checklist, pack back activity. In week 2, we'll do a poll, a survey for the authoring, more web authoring webinar, and I'll also throw in a couple other things. I have a past webinar here for the graphics layout media project, but I'll probably do a live one as well, just because these were done in Adobe Connect, so they're kind of clunky. So I'll update this. Well, I'll do a new one, but it'll sort of be there may be like 2 webinars one week. And again, you don't have to view them. You don't have to view them all live. You don't have to attend them all live. Here's the graphics layout media project, some samples, and then test 1 is in week 3, some other materials. Now, these are just content materials. You're not going to be creating anything based on this. Then we get into audio and video. You're not going to do a video just because this is a 6-week course. Video, to do well, takes a lot of time. So I cut that out. And there's also a great tons of great videos already out there. So yeah. And then week 3 feedback survey, Week 4, we start to slow things down a little bit. You do have the audio project. It's a media project, but it's a lighter one. Most people enjoy that because it's kind of fun. You create your own little 1 to 3 minute podcast. Most people like most of the stuff in this course because you're making cool projects. So theoretically cool projects. Some of y'all make really nerdy bad projects, but that's okay. Just kidding. And then we started getting into more content stuff. And then week 4 and 5, I kind of try and allow you more time to work on the e-portfolio and finalizing that multimedia project. So there's kind of there's a little bit of new content, but really this week is really updating. I'll do a webinar on how we update and finalize these tools. There's no new content this week other than a couple of quick presentations. And really the focus is to kind of front end things and then start tailoring off at the end so you have more time. And then there is a week 2 test. Test 2 in week 6 and your checklist there. So you have about 4 days for test 2. And then in test 1, it will open up on July 6th and close on July 12th. So you have a week, you have 2 tests with a week in for each one of those. Okay, any questions? And then over here you have your to-do list so you can kind of see everything that's coming up. If I click on assignments, one thing I'll note is everything is due on Sunday with the exception of the enrollment verification activity, which is due Friday. And then each of the packbacks, the original postings are due on Thursday to allow your fellow students to post their peer replies by Sunday. Structural questions before we get into the syllabus stuff.
I had one question for the week 1 activity completion checklist. I started going through there and there's something, I think it's maybe like 7 bullets down. It's review accessing your server space.
Okay, yeah, I deleted that today because the server, one of the tools that I used to use was FileZilla, and I quit using it because the server had problems with it. There were lots of security issues. So I started using CyberDuck. So go ahead and I literally just deleted that today. So you can cross that one out now. Let me go ahead and I'll go ahead and post the confirmation code. Every great love story starts with a great story. See if anyone knows what that is. Don't tell me. Do we need to submit anything to Canvas for Packback? So good question. No, you won't submit anything to Canvas for Packback at all. Any other questions before we kind of keep moving on? Who has good reviews? Good reviews for what? Was there a tool that had good reviews? Okay. Oh. Of course I have good reviews on the professor review site. I have, like, my wife did like 3 of them and then, just kidding. All right, moving on. Syllabus stuff. So you can contact me here. We've already talked about that. Course information, course description, course objectives. We've kind of already gone through all of these. There is no text. So some of y'all may have been surprised when you found out that you had to log in and pay $25 for this Packback thing. How many of y'all have seen that? And that's another surprise. So yeah, so Packback is, so I've been teaching online for many years, like 20 plus years. Like I used to create my own courses in HTML and created my own discussion boards and all this stuff. So I've been doing this for a really long time. And one thing that I've always struggled with is getting good participation in discussion forums and good feedback and peer comments. Typically what I see is poorly constructed discussion posts and then I agree and great post and those kind of things as the peer replies. And I tried everything. None of it improved. Like yeah, I did a bunch of different things and tried a bunch of different strategies, and none of it worked. Well, so I started looking for some alternatives, and I came across this tool called Packback, and it's sort of an AI infused discussion forum where they focus on the developing curiosity, I guess, is kind of their big thing. But it uses artificial intelligence to kind of work with the platform and kind of grading and allowing for more interaction and those kind of things. So I approached them about it, and the key issue is that they charge $25. So what I did I didn't feel that I didn't really feel that I could justify that. So particularly when I had over $100 worth of textbooks in the course. So what I did to justify that was I went through the course and removed, at great time and effort, and removed the textbooks and replaced them with online readings that cost you nothing. So even though you have to pay $25 for Packback, I think the textbooks were about $125 before, so you're up like $100. So I apologize for making you have to pay $25, but you're welcome for not having to pay $125 for a textbook. So anyway, so Packback is our sort of discussion environment. The idea is for y'all to create questions and then go in and create comments and materials around those questions. This is how you access Packback, how to register for it. We have a course set up. There's a link already for the week 1 assignment, and I'll pull that up in a minute. But this is just coming to the syllabus. This will show you how to access the Packback environment and get into our course. Okay, some more policies: missed assignments, makeups, and extra credit. So I do accept late work, but if it's more than a week late, I don't accept it at all. Up to 2 days to a week late, it's 50% off. 1 to 2 days is 25% off, and up to 24 hours late, it's 10% off. This first week, I kind of give you a get out of jail free card for 1 assignment, but after that, it's, you should be acclimated to the environment by that point. I'm not a tyrant, and I understand we're all adults here and life happens. So if you need additional time, let me know, and I will, evaluate the situation, and I will allow you additional time to complete assignments. Do not wait until the last minute and ask me for additional time. Let me know ahead of time so that I can allow it. If you're teetering, borderline, just let me know, and I'll be better safe than sorry with that. As much as my wife thinks I am not a mind reader. So you have to be proactive in this. I can't just poof, you get extra time. I don't know unless you ask me for it. So evaluation and grading, there's 1,000 points in the course. It's pretty straightforward there. Y'all can see that. The breakdown of the points are right here. I think the username and password is like a 5-point assignment actually. So I think that might be a little bit off, but the gist of it's pretty much there. I may tweak those just in case there are some discrepancies. Academic honesty, I already talked about. Academic activity documentation, that's what I talked about before, about making sure that you complete that activity by Friday. Course accessibility statement, I haven't received anything from Student Accessibility Services, so I don't anticipate this being an issue this term. But if there are any accessibility issues, please let me know. Campus safety statement, probably not going to be a big deal because this is an online course. Religious observances, so you can read this policy. Deployed active duty, there's just a lot of policies here. Y'all can go through them. I'm not going to go through all these, but copyright is big, third-party software and FERPA. Packback is FERPA compliant, so in case you were wondering about that, and then sexual harassment policy. And then here you'll see everything is due Sundays, and each week has multiple things due. So it's very, very critical that you stay on top of things. User interface here, your syllabus, announcements. I'm going to make 2 or 3 announcements a week, definitely 2. But some are going to be like, I'll have sort of action required type things to let you know, hey, you need to go in and do something with this, whether it's complete the survey or whatever. Assignments, this gives you a list of all your assignments, discussions. There are no graded discussions in the course other than the packback. Zoom, so here you can access the recordings. So the cloud recordings will be posted here. I will try to link to them directly in the announcement. So once this is posted, I'll make an announcement on where the recording is. And if I can link to it directly, I will. I think I can. I think it will give me a URL, but I haven't linked to the cloud recordings yet. So the modules content are all here. Grades you can access here. If you need to send messages to other people in the course here. The tests are located here. Test 1 and test 2, just real quickly, test 1 is a week. Open note, open book, open resources, closed mouth. Obviously, you can't work on the test with other people, but you can use any resources from the course, from the web that you want. That's completely fine, unless it's like a test site that has all my questions up on there and all the answers. If I find out about that, I'm not very happy about those kind of things. So, and then, so you have a week for this one. If you want to work ahead and do the test before outside of that week, let me know. I think you have, I think it's 3 hours for both. So I'm not trying to rush you through things. You have plenty of time. You get a week once you open it up, you have 3 hours and it closes within that week. And then here, I think you get 4 days at the end. So July 27th through the 31st. Questions? This is first half of the course. This is last half of the course. All right, 5 minutes.
Sorry, quick question on that test. You said that once you open it, you have 3 hours to complete it within a week. So like, can you go off it and come back, or do you have to complete it in 1 3-hour sitting? 1
3-hour sitting.
Okay.
And I would say test 1, the average time to completion is under 45 minutes, as is test 2. So they're not any extensive, super long. Maybe test 2 might be a little bit longer. It's a few more questions, but they're not. I'm not trying to trick you. I'm just making sure you get the basic concepts down with those.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. All right. So I did real quickly. I'm just going to go through, show you packback, just what it looks like here, and then we'll run through some things with it, and then we'll be done. So once you click here, so the grading criteria, you get 10 points for your original post, 3 points for your responses, 1 point for your average curiosity score if it's above 50, and another point for your average curiosity responses above 50. I will not post to your comments because I did this the first time and I lowered everybody's score because my posts tend to be kind of quick and, because I have a lot of students to post to. So I just do kind of quick one-off things, and they were lowering the curiosity scores. So I will try and do targeted things. I'll do like, I'll do some targeted posts around some kind of key themes that I see. If that makes sense. So don't feel that I'm ignoring you. I will be reading all of them. I promise you. It's my morning coffee activity every morning of the week that I'm teaching the 6-week version of this course. So I will be reading all of your posts. I just won't be commenting because I don't want to lower your grades. And then so kind of the way it works is so you'll go into your community, and then so some of y'all have already done this. So I have week 1 introduction to packback. So you look for me and look for my post. And then I just have, as you enter the course, blah, 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 what are your biggest strengths? What areas of concern do you have? Which topics do you anticipate needing to spend the most time? I'm just trying to get you set up for the course. And then some people were asking questions about areas of concern, it looked like. So y'all can come in and go, hey, if you're new to web authoring, try this web editor and that sort of thing. And you can add responses here. Don't respond to mine for your post. click Ask a New Question. So up here, when you go back to the community, you will ask a new question for and put week 1 and then your question there. Okay. So I'm going to stop the sharing of this. 2 minutes.
For our post this week, in the instructions, it says to ask 2 questions, but when you go to make the post, like your subject line has to be a question. Can we include like 1 question there and then put the other question in the body of, is that like okay? However we,
Yeah, that's fine.
We ask our 2 questions.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. So this, if you look at the PowerPoint presentation, it kind of goes through what PackBack is and the purpose of it. So spend a couple minutes running through this. I don't want to spend too much time on it because I'll address it in week 1. But a couple key things: make sure you have open-ended questions that have more than 1 answer, and questions that ask for extra help. And sharing resources is also a key component of this as well. What not to post: no questions about tests, homework, class logistics, no duplicates, no profanity, inflammatory, no cheating, no closed-end questions, and no plagiarism posts. And then so if you see somebody's post and it's great, go ahead and spark it. I can't believe I actually said that in the class, but you can actually kind of highlight posts and feature posts. I will feature probably a couple of posts per week that I think are really kind of hitting the nail on the head. And I'll also spark, I hate that. I will spark a number of posts as well throughout the course. And then I'll go through and you do get, I do give extra credit on the PackBack. So if you're in the upper tier of, and it changes each week of the curiosity scores, then you will get bonus points, like 2 bonus points each time. So, and then there's a feature, you can feature posts, the AI will actually flag posts if they don't, if they do some things. Y'all can run through this. We're not going to do the learner leaderboard thing, but, and then there's help if you have any questions. So, all right. So that's all I had. Do y'all have any final questions about the course? If you're freaking out right now about terminology and the workload, you're going to be fine. I would say that everybody that does the work, so there's some students have struggled in the 6-week version, just getting up to speed in 6 weeks on web authoring. But that's not the whole focus. That's just one way of disseminating your media products and packaging them. So don't stress over that. We'll get you through that as you move through the course. So okay, and it does definitely look like a lot, but you probably have the best professor on campus right now. Well, not technically on campus, but at UCF working with you. So you will make it through. I almost guaranteed if you put forth the effort, then you will definitely make it through and be successful. And I don't really particularly appreciate y'all laughing when I said that y'all have the best professor on campus, but whatever. I can come back and watch this recording and take notes of that too. So, all right. Any questions from y'all? And then we'll wrap it up. We'll call it a night. Oh, I see some. Let me go to the chat window. Sorry. No, Robin Tusi would acknowledge that I am better than he is. So, but he'll just comment on how bad I am at golf. That's his go-to. He does have better dad jokes. Yes. Okay. All right. And he does have good dad jokes. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm not a dad, so you don't get the dad jokes from me. Dad cat jokes, maybe? No.
You're a cat dad.
I'm a cat dad, yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. Yeah, so Andrew, yeah, they can help with coding. So real quickly, if you're pretty good at this web stuff, you feel pretty confident with it, you have experience with it, raise your hand. And those of you that are new to it and intimidated a little bit by it, note do the thumbs up with the where's it at? The more with your when you click on your in the upper right hand corner of your where do you do the thumbs up at?
Reactions.
Under reaction.
Reactions. Where's that?
The bottom,
Bottom
right.
right.
Okay, I still don't see it. Okay, there you go.
Because
So do
you're
the
sharing your
reactions, yeah.
screen.
So if you're good at web authoring, you have experience, and you don't mind people maybe reaching out to you, give a thumbs up real quick. And those of you that are new and never done it before, then note the names that are on there. There we go. So it looks like a lot of people willing to help out. Awesome. Okay. So just kind of note that and for future, and you know, you can post questions to the Ask the Instructor. If those of you that are in the class, y'all, if you know the answer to the Ask the Instructor question, if it's not a course question, like if it's a technology question or whatever, you feel free to go in and respond. Okay. Yeah, I think y'all are going to be fine. Yeah, don't stress about the terminology and technology yet. It'll come, I promise. Okay, any more questions? Don't see any questions. I'll post some good intro stuff for web authoring from the LinkedIn Learning. If anyone wants to reply to that, I know Andrew posted some stuff about W3C, W3 schools. You know, y'all can reply to my announcements and then add additional resources that you feel may have been helpful to you over time or whatever. Okay. And please don't tell Tusi that I said I was better. All right, everybody, y'all are free to leave. Have a great night. And again, if you have questions, feel free to reach out. All right.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Oh, and if you have questions later.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, LinkedIn Learning is free.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.